Hey guys, how are you doing? Firstly, as you can see, I did what I was going to do. I made my backdrop bigger, so it's not just a small thing behind my head. I've moved all the posters around. This one's falling off. Ah! The Ben Cook Becoming YouTube poster was falling off. I think it's better, easier to read now. This is easier to read. I'll probably do a tour of it soon, if I can be bothered. Secondly, I have some really good news. As you've probably seen on Twitter if you follow me. Here it is. Ah! This is a terrible idea. This is me trying to film my yoga certificate. I'm now a qualified yoga teacher. I really didn't know if that would ever happen, so I think I'll do a video on that soon, on my yoga training, but that's finally happened. I am a qualified yoga teacher. I do have to practice sequencing. That's the only problem, that I haven't actually written any yoga sequences in a while, so I'm kind of feeling not very ready to teach. But there are some websites and I have my college books and stuff, so I can get really practiced on sequencing, and then hopefully I'll be able to teach the children at my work, because my work have really supported that and want that to happen. And my mum is doing some work for Lighthouse, the mental health group, so I might be teaching them soon, which will be good because I need experience. So I had an idea a while back for this video, but I thought this was a good time to do it because a lot of you guys are doing exams and stuff. A lot of you are in that teenage demographic and are growing up, and will be hearing lots of myths and misconceptions about adulthood and grades and careers and stuff. And I wanted to do a video to dispel some of those myths, which I seem to be doing a lot. I'm the new Mythbusters. So I thought that was a good idea. I'm going to try and do it in a way that isn't too depressing, but is quite informative to those of you going through exams and growing up and all sorts. So here is the truth about adulthood. The first topic is grades. Now, there are so many myths and misconceptions about grades and what will inevitably happen if and when you fail your GCSEs and all sorts. When I was young, it was, if you don't do this, you'll end up flipping burgers, or you'll end up being a garbage man, woman, person, whatever. And there are so many reasons that these things are untrue, problematic, whatever way you want to look at it. Firstly, when I was growing up, the one thing they used to say is you have to be able to do maths, otherwise you'll fail at everything in life. Even if you are working in a shop, you won't be able to do it because you have to do maths and work out how much change people need and stuff, which is rubbish because they have tills. No one in shops sits there working things out on their piece of paper or on their hands. It's ridiculous. There are loads of people who find maths difficult, and generally we all get by, we all get jobs. The one thing you do normally need to have a job is a maths GCSE at grade C, at least. So if you can get that, that's great. If you fail your maths and get a D or an E or an F, you can always resit. Also, using certain jobs as punishments for not working towards your grades is ridiculous, because even saying you'll be flipping burgers or you'll be changing the bins, someone has to do those jobs, and those people are just as valid as anyone else. If you have a job where you're in McDonald's or KFC, or you're a cleaner, or you're a bin man, or you're a toilet attendant or whatever, it doesn't matter. You are still a valid member of society. People should not use your job as negative reinforcement to make people study. Whatever you're doing is valid and important. Even if it's not what you thought you'd be doing, having a real job is not the be-all and end-all. Whatever job you do, if you're making money and you can support yourself, that's great. That leads on to my next subject, which is dreams. Not dreams, but like following your dreams. Not letting your dreams be dreams, or whatever. A lot of people, in fact most of us growing up, are told, don't follow your dreams, do a career that's realistic. Do something that is a serious business job, because being an artist isn't a realistic job, isn't a real job. Being a YouTuber isn't a real job. Either as being a singer or an actor or whatever it is that you want to do. These things aren't realistic jobs. You have to force yourself to be academic, and you have to force yourself into a real job and a real career. Now that's completely rubbish. Most of you will have seen Dan's videos on this, the Quarter Life Crisis trilogy, and if you haven't, please check them out, they're really good. But he highlights all these things and why it's not necessarily important to force yourself down a certain route if that's not going to make you happy. Is it a realistic job? who cares? If you're making money and you can support yourself, you're fine. People say money is the root of all evil, or money isn't the be all and end all, but then they tell you not to do a certain career because you're not guaranteed to make loads of money. It's ridiculous. Just do what makes you happy. This has been said by other YouTubers and isn't an amazingly new thing to hear, but I feel that people need to hear it. Just follow your dreams. It doesn't matter if you're not academic enough to get A-levels and a degree and all that sort of thing, because some people aren't. Dan, for example, studied law because he thought it was a really academic thing to do, and it's something that looks really impressive on your CV and something that's really important, and didn't end up going through with it. Phil and PJ both studied filmmaking, which seems like, oh, that's not a real degree, and went through with it and ended up making careers of it. So, you know, you don't have to do a degree. You can do an academic degree if you want, or you can not do a degree at all, or you can do a more creative degree. But the important thing is to do what makes you happy and do what suits you. Another point, which is quite specific and weird, but I thought I'd mention it because it's something that I've observed personally, and that is dealing with bullying. If you are at school and you're being bullied and you seek out help, you speak to a teacher or your parents or whatever, that is seen for some stupid reason as a sign of weakness. It's, why are you going crying for help because you're getting bullied by that person or whatever. I don't know why, it's so fucked up, but it's just one of those things that if you're being bullied and you seek help at school, that's seen as a sign of weakness. In the workplace, if you're being bullied and you don't say anything, that is seen as a sign of weakness. It's seen as a sign of strength to go to the office and say to the manager, this person is victimizing me, this person is being unkind, this person did this, that and the other. In my experience, that has been seen in the workplace, that's a sign of strength to actually stand up for yourself, not just for yourself, but to take it further. That's seen as a sign of strength, whereas at school, it's seen as a sign of weakness. I don't think either is necessarily right, because if someone keeps quiet about bullying, it doesn't mean that they're weak, but that's just one of the differences. It's polar opposites. I hope none of you deal with bullying in the workplace or at school, but that is something that I've noticed. Now this is a personal observation. I'm not being your mum, I am not being your dad, I'm not going to give anyone any talk, but I wanted to speak about alcohol. From my personal point of view, if you get completely drunk and you're falling on the floor and you can't remember things the next day, you don't really enjoy yourself. That's not me lecturing people or telling people how to be, that's just something I've personally noted. When you're a younger adult, as I was once upon a time, you can't necessarily handle your drink as much and you might get really drunk, and that is not, to many people, enjoyable. People who do that all the time probably have a problem with alcohol because it's just not enjoyable. And you learn that when you go out drinking, if you're tipsy and you're a little bit more confident but you're still able to control yourself, that's a lot more fun. Obviously, it's also a lot more safe. That should go without saying, but you will enjoy yourself more if you are tipsy than if you are completely drunk. Another thing is, obviously sometimes people do illegal drugs, which I'm not going to promote. Don't do drugs, kids. But if someone is planning on doing illegal things, make sure you're with people that you trust, make sure you're in a safe place where there's other people, and make sure you're not taking bad things from strangers. Just basic advice. I know this stuff sounds obvious, but it's important to say because some people smoke, some people drink, some people blaze, some people go out and get high. That's just different ways of people having fun. I'm not promoting doing those things, but if you do, you might as well try and do it in a safe way. Another thing is mental health. I don't want to make anyone depressed, but you see a lot of these posts on Tumblr and stuff saying no school equals no problems and no school equals no stress and stuff. And I always like retweet them or whatever, like, that's bullshit, because obviously everyone has problems, whether you're at school or not. School is a huge source of problems. Once you've got that part of your life over and you've got the qualifications you need, yeah, you'll be less stressed, and that is a huge weight off your shoulders. But it doesn't mean that you'll never be stressed again. It doesn't mean that you will never have problems or mental health problems or be depressed or anything. In life, there are stresses, that's what life is. I don't mean to make anyone feel miserable by telling you guys that, but that's just how it is. And if you're an adult and you're experiencing stress or your mental health isn't great, that's fine, that is completely normal. Obviously, if you need help with your mental health, please seek it in whatever way you can, but I just wanted to dispel that myth that once you're an adult everything's fine. It's only teenagers who are stressed.
Obviously teenagers have more stress because of their hormones and they deal with relationships and stress and stuff in a different way, and obviously they have the stresses of school.
But don't think that throughout life there won't be stresses again. When you're an adult, you're better equipped to deal with the stress, and you're probably in a better place mentally to deal with stressful situation or mental health problems or whatever. But unfortunately, when you're an adult, these things still happen. That leads me on to my next point, which is direction. Once I'm out of school, I have direction in my life. When you're an adult and you know how to adult, you know where your life is going, and if you don't, then you just don't know how to adult. Now that's ridiculous, and that is so much stress. No one knows where they're going in life. No one is completely certain of themselves. Everyone has doubts. Everyone has uncertainty. It's not that when you're a teenager you're uncertain, and when you're an adult everything's magically answered. But that's almost a positive point, even though it's quite negative. It makes you think that if you are an adult and you're going through this stuff, everyone is. Literally, everyone is. And everything is usually okay. If you're a teenager, I don't want you to have misconceptions and feel like, oh, when I'm an adult everything will be fine. Unfortunately, that's not the case. But if you're an adult and things aren't fine, I don't want you to think that there's something wrong with you, or everyone else has their life together, or I'm the only one that's struggling.
That's in the world of therapy, psychology, whatever, it's called black and white thinking that everyone has their life together and I'm crap. And everyone falls into that trap, but if you just remember that
literally no one has their life together. Like, even people with seemingly perfect lives with good careers, they don't necessarily know which direction their life is going. And if you try and control everything and know how everything's going to be, then you will just be stressed because no one can predict the future. It's better to just understand that probably no one knows where their life is going, but that's okay. Once again, I'm going to feel like I'm giving you guys the talk or being some kind of role model or parent to you guys, which I'm not, hopefully. Don't use me as a role model, I'm terrible. But I wanted to talk about relationships because you have this misconception that, and I know this sounds depressing, but that you'll meet someone and fall in love and everything will go perfectly, and if it doesn't, then you're a failure and everything's bad. Like, your first kiss with a person of whatever gender you choose is probably not your best kiss. The first time you have sex is not like your best time and you're brilliant and it's romantic and passionate and wonderful. Like, sometimes these things are awkward or strange or whatever, or your first relationship might not work out and be your husband or wife or spouse and live together forever. It doesn't always happen that way. Sorry about that. I don't want to ruin anyone's life or anyone's headcanon that everything's perfect, but that's how it is. If your first relationship doesn't last forever and you break up, yes, it's very sad and depressing, but I know it's horrible when people say this, but there are more fish in the sea, and you will find someone who is right for you, and you will find someone who makes you very happy. I personally don't like the idea of soulmates, and it's not because I'm a miserable, cynical old man, and it's not because I'm not a romantic person. It's that I think it's a lot of pressure. The soulmate myth, or I think it's a myth, is that, you know, there's like 7 billion people on the planet and one of them is your soulmate, and you have to find your soulmate or you'll be miserable. You have to find your soulmate before you're 30 or you'll be a miserable old cow. It's ridiculous that people feel that your first love should be your soulmate and it should last forever, and if it doesn't happen like that, then you failed. It's ridiculous. I don't believe in soulmates. I believe that if it works, it works, and if the person is right for you, they are right for you. And they could be a nice person, but the relationship might not work just because you don't work together well as a couple, and there's no shame in that. And if you're with a person who's lovely and hasn't mistreated you in any way, and it just didn't work out as a relationship, and you had to be friends instead, or, you know, whatever, that's fine. That's just life. Anyone you see, you'll see a happy couple, and they might have had failed relationships in the past, things might not have gone their way. Maybe they're happy now, but they weren't happy before, or maybe they made mistakes. That's just how life is. You do hear stories about these old married couples that were each other's first love at 18 and they're still together now. That's incredibly rare. If it happens for you, brilliant. You will be my new OTP and I will stan you so much. I'll stan you anyway because you're lovely. But that's just one of those things. And with old married couples as well, there was stigma about breakups and divorce and stuff like that. It was less easy for people to break up from relationships. That's not probably the only reason that they're together or that happens, but those were different times. If you get together with someone and you're teenagers in love or young adults in love or whatever and it doesn't work out, never mind. We're all human and relationships don't always last, but you will be happy, whether happy by yourself or you'll find someone who makes you happy, and hopefully you'll have a lot of self-happiness and self-love whether you're in a relationship or not. I have just given the talk to my viewers. I feel like a very old YouTuber who shouldn't be a YouTuber. It doesn't matter. I'm just blocking out the fact that I'm going to be 27 next month. That's just not something I'm thinking about. I'm on to my final point now, and I'm moving my hands too much. This point is fandoms. Now, you probably know where this is going. A lot of people say that when you're young, you can stand someone and fangirl over them, but when you're old, you have to do a job, you have to do taxes, you have to be serious business, and not be a fan of YouTubers or a band or a singer or whatever. Now, you know what I'm going to say about that. It is rubbish. I know this probably goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway, because I am in multiple fandoms. There are fandoms that I was more in when I was younger than I am now, but I'm still a fan of these people. I'm still a fan of bands that went separate ways and don't exist anymore. I'm obviously a huge Dan and Phil stan. I'm a huge Supernatural stan. I don't need to be 14 or 16 or even 18 to be a fan of people. If someone or something makes you happy, that's the most important thing. It doesn't mean, as people will imply, that you don't have a job, you don't do taxes, you don't have a wife or husband or kids or sensible things. You can do both. You can literally be, I don't even like Justin Bieber, but you can be the biggest Justin Bieber stan and also like have a partner and children and a serious job and do all the serious things. You can't not have fun in your life. There are more adult ways to have fun. You may have fun in that way and socialise and go out and go clubbing and go to dinner and do these grown-up things, and you may also have fun by being in a fandom and being a fangirl. You can be a fanboy. You don't have to be a teenager. You don't, just because you're a fan person, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're like an annoying immature fangirl, because some people in fandoms are older and more mature. If you stan someone and they make you happy, don't feel bad about it, because we all need to get through life. We all need ways of being happy. That might involve being in a fandom, or it might not. It might involve going out and socialising, or it might involve more staying at home and being more chilled because you're not very sociable, or whatever. If you do something that makes you happy, that's good. It doesn't matter how old you are, as long as you're safe and what you're doing is legal or whatever, that's fine. I wanted to end that on a more positive note, so yeah, that was the truth about adulthood, hopefully, through my eyes. That's some things I've observed about adulthood. Obviously, I still have a lot more adulthood ahead of me, so I don't want to claim that I know everything, but I just thought I'd make some points as people are going through exams and growing up and puberty and all these terrifying things. So I hope you enjoyed that video and it wasn't too miserable. Obviously, feedback in the comments and give it a like and subscribe, and I hope to see you soon. I will be doing a video on my yoga training soon, so watch out for that. Follow Sushi Roll Fan on Twitter and you'll see more updates, and I love you all very much. Bye!